Have you ever heard of an empire that gave the world the number 0? A time when science, art, and philosophy blossomed so brightly, it's still called a golden age. Today, we're journeying back in time to ancient India to uncover the secrets of the magnificent Gupta Empire. This isn't just a history lesson. It's the story of a civilization that shaped our modern world in ways you probably never imagined. From legendary conquerors to brilliant mathematicians, get ready to explore the rise, the dazzling peak, and the eventual fall of the Gupta. Our story begins around the late 3rd century CE. The once mighty empires of northern India had fragmented, leaving a power vacuum. Into this scene steps a local ruler named Sri Gupta. While historical records about him are a bit sparse, he's credited with laying the foundation. He was a visionary who saw the potential to unite the scattered kingdoms of the Gangetic Plains. His son Ghatotkacha continued his work, but it was the next generation that truly set the stage for greatness. Enter Chandragupta the First. No, not the one who founded the Mauryan Empire. This is a different, but equally ambitious ruler. Taking the throne around 320 CE, he understood that power came not just from the sword, but also from smart alliances. He made a brilliant strategic move by marrying Kumaradevi, a princess from the powerful Lichavi clan. This marriage wasn't just a love story. It was a political masterpiece. It gave him immense prestige, resources, and control over crucial territories. To mark his newfound status, he adopted the grand title Maharajadhiraja, meaning King of Great Kings. He expanded his territory, establishing a firm base of power with his capital at Pataliputra. Chandragupta I was the true architect of the empire, turning a small kingdom into a formidable force, ready to dominate the subcontinent. He set the stage, and his son was about to put on the show of a lifetime. And what a show it was! His successor, Samudragupta, who reigned from about 335 to 375 CE, was an absolute force of nature. He was a military genius, a skilled poet, a musician, and a patron of the arts, a true Renaissance man. Centuries before the Renaissance, Samudragupta embarked on a breathtaking series of military campaigns that are famously recorded on the Allahabad Pillar. This inscription details his conquests, dividing them into different strategic zones. He directly annexed kingdoms in the north, absorbing them into his growing empire. For the wild, forested regions of central India, he forced the tribal chiefs to acknowledge his supremacy. But his most famous campaign was his Dakshinapata expedition, his grand tour of the south. Here, his strategy was different. Instead of trying to rule these distant lands directly, he defeated the southern kings and then, in an act of political genius, reinstated them as tributary rulers. They would pay him tribute and acknowledge his authority, but manage their own internal affairs. This pragmatic approach allowed him to claim dominion over a vast area without overstretching his administrative resources. Because of his incredible military achievements, historians often refer to him as the Napoleon of India. Samudragupta didn't just expand the empire's borders. He filled its treasury and established a reputation for invincibility that would define the Gupta dynasty for generations. Under Samudragupta's son Chandragupta II, the empire reached its absolute zenith. He continued his father's expansionist policies, most notably by conquering the western satraps in the Gujarat region. This was a huge deal. It not only removed a long-standing rival, but also gave the Guptas control over crucial western seaports like Baragaza, Modandai. Suddenly, the empire had a direct gateway to lucrative maritime trade with the Roman Empire and the Middle East. Wealth poured into the Gupta lands like never before. But this era, from the late 4th to the early 5th century, wasn't just about military might and money. It was a time of incredible cultural and intellectual flowering. This is why we call it the Golden Age. The stability and prosperity provided by the Gupta rulers created an environment where art, science, and literature could flourish. It was a time of peace, tolerance, and unprecedented creativity. It's during this period that the Chinese Buddhist monk, Faxian, traveled throughout India. His detailed journals give us an invaluable first-hand account of life in the Gupta Empire. He described a prosperous and well-governed society, a light penal code, and a general sense of safety and harmony. Let's talk about the literature. This was the era of Sanskrit's greatest poet and playwright, Kali, often called the Shakespeare of India. His works, like the play Shakuntala and the epic poem Meghaduta, or The Cloud Messenger, are masterpieces of world literature. They are celebrated for their lyrical beauty, emotional depth, and intricate descriptions of nature and human feeling. The Gupta court was a hub for scholars and poets, and literary production was at an all-time high. The great epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which had been passed down orally for centuries, were likely edited and written down in their final form during this period. The artistic achievements were just as stunning. Gupta sculpture is considered the pinnacle of Indian classical art. Artists moved away from the more realistic styles of earlier periods and developed a new ideal of perfected human form. Think of the serene, meditative Buddha statues from Sarnath, with their graceful postures, calm expressions, and intricately carved halos. They radiate a sense of inner peace and spiritual transcendence that is simply captivating. Magnificent temples were also built, though many of the early ones, constructed from brick and wood, haven't survived. But the beautiful stone reliefs and sculptures that do remain, like those at the Dashovatara temple in Diagar, showcase the incredible skill of Gupta artisans. It was an art form that perfectly balanced the spiritual with the aesthetic. Now for the part that literally changed the world: science and mathematics. Gupta scholars were light years ahead of their time. The most groundbreaking innovation was the development of the decimal system and the concept of zero, or shunya. Can you imagine doing math without zero? It's the foundation of all modern arithmetic and computation. The brilliant mathematician and astronomer Aryabhata, working in the late 5th century, was a true giant. In his book, the Aryabhata, he calculated the value of pi to a remarkable accuracy, proposed that the Earth was a sphere that rotated on its own axis, and correctly explained that lunar and solar eclipses were caused by the shadows of the Earth and the Moon. And he was doing all this over 1,000 years before Copernicus and Galileo in Europe. The Guptas were also pioneers in medicine. They were skilled in surgery, used a wide variety of herbal remedies, and even had knowledge of inoculation. The famous Iron Pillar of Delhi, which stands today completely rust-free after 1,600 years, is a testament to the advanced metallurgical skills of the Gupta era. So what was daily life like for the average person? Society was organized around a caste system, but there was a degree of social mobility. The economy was booming, thanks to both agriculture and trade. Farmers cultivated rice, wheat, and barley, and the state-managed irrigation systems ensured bountiful harvests. But the real engine of prosperity was trade. The Guptas controlled a vital section of the legendary Silk Road, the network of trade routes connecting the East and West. Indian merchants exported luxury goods like spices, precious stones, pearls, fine textiles, and ivory. In return, they imported goods like silk from China and gold from the Roman Empire. This constant flow of goods also meant a flow of ideas. Religion, during the Gupta period, was characterized by a remarkable harmony. While the Gupta emperors themselves were devout Vaishnava Hindus who worshipped Vishnu, they were incredibly tolerant of other faiths. Buddhism and Jainism continued to thrive and received royal patronage. Great Buddhist universities, like Nalanda, which would become a world-renowned center of learning, were established during this time. This atmosphere of religious pluralism contributed to the overall peace and stability of the empire, allowing for the free exchange of philosophical and spiritual ideas. So, if the Gupta Empire was so powerful, so rich, and so advanced, why did it fall? Like all great empires, the Gupta dynasty eventually faced challenges it couldn't overcome. The beginning of the end came in the late 5th century with a series of invasions from the north. A fierce nomadic people from Central Asia, known as the Hunas or White Huns, began to pour across the Hindu Kush mountains. The Gupta Emperor Skandagupta managed to fight them off successfully at first, but the wars were incredibly costly. They drained the imperial treasury and weakened the military. After Skandagupta's death, the empire began to fracture. A succession of weaker rulers couldn't hold the vast territories together. Local governors and feudal lords, who had once been loyal to the emperor, saw an opportunity and began to assert their independence, carving out their own little kingdoms. The constant pressure from the Huna invasions continued, and by the middle of the 6th century, the once mighty Gupta Empire had crumbled, breaking apart into a collection of smaller, regional states. The Golden Age was over, but the legacy of the Guptas never truly faded. Their contributions to mathematics, science, arts, and literature created a cultural foundation that influenced Indian civilization for the next 1,000 years and beyond. The number 0, the decimal system, the elegant sculptures, the timeless poetry of Kalidasadis weren't just artifacts of a bygone era. They were gifts to the world. The Gupta Empire stands as a powerful reminder that true greatness is measured not just in territory conquered, but in the enduring brilliance of the human mind and spirit. It was a time when India shone brightly, a beacon of culture and knowledge for the entire world. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey back to the Golden Age of India. If you enjoyed this exploration of history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the empires that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which civilization you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.